Quiet.
Mr. President-elect,
Go ahead.
can you state
She's asking you a
categorically,
question. Don't
Mr.
be
President-elect, can you give us a question?
Don't be
You are
rude.
attacking us. Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
Can
No,
you
I'm
give
not
us a
going to give you a
question?
question. I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir.
I'm Dr. Dave Jando. Welcome back to Dave versus the MSM. I'd like to thank you for joining me today. Thank you for networking this information to anyone and everyone you know. The more people educated, the more people that become empowered. And the more people that become empowered, the sooner we end this reign of terror, which is not coincidental, not accidental, not incompetence, but purely planned. The sooner we end that reign of terror by educating and empower people. And that's what our platform's all about. I could only go into so much depth on this platform because of the censorship issues. Well documented. That's why DaveJanda.com exists. Tremendous amount of free public information, but the real in-depth information is on the subscription side with the extra shows and the extra content and the extra guests and the archives to all of our shows and the podcasts available to our Sunday live radio broadcast with the greatest guests and greatest analysis on the planet on the weekend. Frankly, during the week as well. There is not a syndicated radio show that comes close to what we do in 3 hours on a Sunday. That's what our listeners tell us and have told us for many years' time. And they're right. Obviously, I'm biased, but you know what? I'm also analytical. It's also why we're so targeted. That's why DaveJanda.com exists. Today's presentation is on the banking syndicate. The heart, if you will. The cold heart of the globalist cult. The title of today's presentation is Banksters Sucking the Lifeblood, or at least trying to, from freedom. I want to turn to an author by the name of Jim McCarthy. He wrote a book called The Money Spiders. And here's what he wrote. Quote, sneaky and underhanded, the Federal Reserve, now remember, we have pointed this out for many years, but it bears repeating. The Federal Reserve is not part of the federal government. Yes, I know federal's in their name, but federal is in the name of Federal Express, and they're not part of the federal government either, correct? Right. This is great marketing. And this was put into place in 1913 by the globalist cult whore, Woodrow Wilson, and a Congress that in the dead of the night around Christmas Eve passed it into law, taking the money printing capabilities away from the United States Treasury and handing it to the Federal Reserve, which is not a part of the government, but a group of independent bankers who only do what's right for bankers, or what I call banksters. Sneaky and underhanded, back to Jim McCarthy, sneaky and underhanded, the Federal Reserve has been sucking the lifeblood out of the United States since 1913. Like a black widow spider, it weaves a web of corruption and deceit, unknown to its prey, for the most part. You know, but probably 95, 99% of people you know don't realize. The Fed's bite is poisonous, deep, long-lasting, and brings financial upheaval and misery to Americans. End quote. And it's all willful. Gary Barnett, the political analyst, wrote the following. Control by the few of the money and monetary system is the epitome of total control of not only this atrocious governing system, but of the entire nation. That was by design, by the way. It just didn't happen. Okay? The harm caused by this control, unbridled money printing and manipulation, certainly is deep, long-lasting, and brings financial upheaval, but it also causes harm far above what is considered by the average American. It is the impetus of the massive wealth transfer into the hands of the few. It is the sole cause of hyperinflation. It is the facilitator of aggressive war. It is the cause of the psychological and financial destruction of the citizenry. It is the cause of world conquest and the devastation of non-compliant nations. And its policies lead to the complete impoverishment of not only this population, but all others targeted in the effort to globalize rule. End quote. They prop up their system by feeding you lies. that everything's fine. Just keep doing your thing. Trust us. And if something happens, we're there for you. Yeah. Much like they were there for you the past 3 years, right? With what they created in that, right? Yeah. They want you to believe that the financial system is safe and effective in ensuring your well-being. Have you heard that before? How did that work out? Right. But when you look at independent data, what do you come up with? Interesting. They're telling you, all's fine. Well, if all's fine, why do we have 3 large banks just fail? What? And Moody's downgraded all the banks in the country. What? I didn't hear that on CNBS. I didn't hear that on Fox Business News. I didn't read that in Bloomberg. What? Yeah. Let me give you a couple recent data points. Home foreclosures and missed credit card payments surge as consumers buckle. All this information was not in the bought-off lamestream fake media, right? Freight recession highlighted by largest cargo drop since the pandemic. U.S. leading economic indicators tumble for 12th straight month, signal recession. U.S. existing home sales resume slide this past month. Home prices drop most in a decade. Philly Fed business survey unexpectedly slumps to worst since Lehman. Even the scum in their data can't cover up what's happening. The number of Americans claiming jobless benefits hits a 17-month high. Retail sales slide more than expected. Grow at the weakest annual pace since June of 2020. We recently had a Fed meeting, where the poobah, wearing everything but his buffalo hat, like the Flintstones and the whatever the organization was. The Water Buffaloes, I think, was the organization. He stands at this podium, Jerome Powell, the head of the Fed, the head bankster. And he was telling you, hey, the banks are taken care of. We didn't anticipate these 3 banks going up, but don't. It's taken care of. And here's actually his words. There were 3 large banks, really from the very beginning, that were at the heart of this stress that we saw in early March, the severe period of stress. Those have now all been resolved. Oh, so it's over. And all the depositors have been protected. That's interesting. Okay. I think that the resolution and sale of First Republic kind of draws a line under that period of, it's important to step toward drawing a line under that period of severe stress. In other words, no more banks are going under. And less than 24 hours after he garbled those words at his Water Buffalo podium, this hit. Remember, all the banks are fine. Regional bank crisis spreads to big banks as PacWest, U.S. Bancorp tumble. This from Zero Hedge. 48% of Americans are worried about their money's safety in U.S. banks more than during the peak of the 2008 financial crisis. And then next day, initial jobless claims jumped near 18-month highs. But you're going to say, but wait, Dave, there was some recent employment data out, and it said that the economy added this past month 253,000 jobs, and it was expected that 185,000 jobs would be added. But 200, that's over 70,000 more jobs, Dave. Almost 70,000, 68 to be precise. The economy, they're okay, but hey. Well, first of all, those numbers were generated through the government. Can you say vapor? But when you look at those numbers, are you aware that in the body of that report, hidden, it said that they had a bogey number called the birth-death model. And they added, to get to the 253,000 jobs created, they added 100 jobs? 1,000? 10,000? Try 378,000. Wait! If they added 378 and the actual number was 253, so that means we didn't gain 253,000 jobs. Last month we actually lost 125,000 jobs. Ding, ding, ding. And that doesn't include seasonal adjustments. Remember they tried that hokey pokey. In January, we created 500,000 new jobs. But they seasonally adjusted and it 3 million. What? You trying to tell me that there were 2.5 million jobs lost when they're telling us there was actually... And in this report, where we gained so many jobs, deep in the report it said 3.9 million people were only working part-time because full-time jobs were not available. And in fact, just not the seasonal adjustments, just with the birth-death model bogey number, in the past year, in a 1 year's time, it added 1.84 million jobs that were bogus to the system, which was 43% of all jobs added. And that doesn't include the seasonal adjustments. This is not an accident. It's willful. And they're sucking the lifeblood from freedom. Because they know if they can make you financially destitute, they can make you surrender the remaining of your freedoms and liberties. That you'll come running to them. That's what they're counting on. Well, we're not going to do that, really, because that's what happened by the truckload over the past 3 years. The last 3 years was their beta test for what they're going to do this time financially. But just as the past 3 years, there were those of us who raised our hands and said, stop, here are the facts, here are the data, here's the science. There are entities that are already out there telling you, and we've been telling you this for years, whether it's Adriana Reed or Ed Steer or Craig Hemke or Bill Holter or Trader Steph or Rob Kirby, God rest his soul. We've told you, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. That in times of trouble, financial stress, the best insurance policy you can have are physical precious metals. Enter Texas. Texas committee passes bill to create 100% reserve gold and silver-backed transactional currencies. Recently, the Texas House Committee passed a bill to create 100% reserve gold and silver-backed transactional currencies. Enactment of this legislation would create an option for people to conduct business in sound money as opposed to paper fiat vapor money that's backed by nothing. Remember, Nixon did that back in 1971. It set the stage to undermine the Federal Reserve's monopoly on money and possibly create a viable alternative to a central bank digital currency. See, folks, they want you, when the system comes down that they've rigged to come down, to run to them and look for an answer. And they're going to hand you, oh, well, we have this basket of currencies called SDRs, and, well, yeah, and we run them, but you could try some of that. Or you can try our other option, central bank digital currencies. Think of central bank digital currencies is the financial digital. No. Sound money. And Texas is telling you what sound money is and how to protect yourself. Fact. We are available 24/7 at davejanda.com. I hope you become part of our Freedom family. I hope you'll subscribe to our premium service. It will put you months, frankly years, ahead of the curve. Information is power. Empower yourself. davejanda.com. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Thanks for your time today.